Okay, here's a quick hack for you, okay? Think about this. So I'm going to play a backing track. It's in G minor. And it's going to go to the 4 chord, which in this case is going to be major. It's going to be C9. A C9 is a C7. There's a C7 or there's a C7. But if you include this D in it, so if you bar across here, so D is the second degree of C. Here's a C, here's a D. But when you go up the octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the octave becomes 8, and the D becomes 9. So when you include that in there, the C7 becomes a C9. And the great thing about a C9 is that you can use the minor pentatonic scale of the 5th of C works, and in that case it's G. So you're starting the song on G minor, you're going to go to a 4 chord, which is C9, and the scale still works. You might want to include this note here, this E, because E is the 3rd of C. So instead of playing the scale strictly like this, you can play like this. The other chord that's used is a D9. Now, that should be a minor chord, but because the song is in the key of F. So G minor is the Dorian of F. And typically in F, the D would be minor. But in this case, because we are playing the song not in F, but we're playing it in G minor, you can change, you can substitute the D minor for D7. You can make it dominant because it builds tension back to. Okay, so the one thing I want you to think about when you're approaching the G minor scale, and of course, sorry, over the D9, you can, the G minor works as well. You can add those F major notes into it, over this one. Okay, so that's all in that position, okay? So now we've sort of established that you can pretty much jam it all in G minor. But now you want to play it in other places on the neck. So you want to find all the Gs. Here's a G that's open. And we know when you're in minor that you're playing the minor 3rd, which is why you get that shape. So you want to identify where all the 3rds are. So here's a G, there's the 3rd. The 3rd being B flat. So we know wherever you have a G, you're going to have a full step and a half up to get your minor 3rd. And that can be applicable anywhere where there's a G. And you know from the G minor pentatonic scale that you go, right? So anywhere that there's a G, you know you can go, here's a G here. Now you just have to be cognizant when you're transitioning between the 2nd and 3rd string that there's a compensation there that goes, you have to either slide up half a step if you're going from the 3rd to the 2nd string, or down a half step if you're going from the 2nd to the 3rd string. It's the same as this. So you want to find where all the G's are and find that pattern. Wherever you have a G, you're going to have that pattern. Here's a G, here's the 3rd. That's the lick, right? So here's a G. Here's a G. Here's a G. You know the minor pentatonic scale rooting off the 5th string. So here's a G minor. So you know. Okay, so that's the trick. That's the pattern. It's basically from the root, one whole step and a half. So you're getting that minor 3rd, and then you know that it's also, this is your minor 7th, your lowered 7th, and your 5th. So you got root, minor 3rd, lowered 7th, 5th. And that's consistent everywhere. Keeping in mind that when you transition from the 3rd and 2nd string, you got to compensate with that half step up. Okay, so that's a pattern. Then the other pattern I want to show you is whenever you're playing a minor, you can do this sort of sandwich thing where, so here's a G here, right? So this whole step up, those 6 notes are in play. So this is the 4th, this is the 5th, minor 7th, the lower 7th, the root, minor 3rd, back to the 4th. You hear how that sounds? It doesn't sound right when I hit the major 3rd. It sounds right when I hit the minor 3rd. Where's another G? Here's a G here. And you got to compensate by going down half a step when you go to the 3rd string. That's the pattern. Here's a G here. So there you go. That's those 2 patterns in conjunction. If you use those, then you can pretty much navigate the whole fretboard. First you learn where your G's are. Right? So here's a lick that incorporates both ideas. Here's that 6 note. So that's what I've learned over time is that playing guitar is really about making those connections, finding all those relationships all over, and then identifying them. If you're in G minor, like this D chord, the root of this D chord is the 2nd string. So you got to find where the G is, and you can make this, but now we're in minor, so you got to make it like the minor shape, just like a D minor. And you can play these 3 top strings with this shape, and that's a triad. So you're seeing the relationship now. We got the sandwich pattern, we got the minor triad. You can slur into the 5th, hit the root, then to the 3rd. You can even go a half step below the 3rd and bend into it. And we have the minor 3rd to the root, the lowered 7th to the 5th. can always play a chromatic from the lowered 7th to the root. So you take a whole step lower. So give you the sound like you're playing like a little bit outside, like a little jazzy. You can also slide up from the 3rd to the 5th. I mean, from the, yeah. Here, I'll put on the backing track for a second. Test those things out. I'm just playing an arpeggio that outlines that chord. Back to the G minor. Go up a register. That pattern. Played here too. And then here's the G, so you can go. And you want to just hit certain notes on the right place. Hit the right note. Okay, there I'm just playing. So it's a, the turnaround is a, like I said, it's a D9, it's a C9, so I'm just playing the arpeggio of the D7 chord, the 3rd, the 5th, the 6th, bend up to the 7, the flat 7, down to the 5th. The 3rd, 5th, and then walk down to from the 5th degree to the 4th degree. Back to the root. Okay, I made a couple of mistakes, but I think that should give you an idea and maybe give you some questions and you can ask me what you think.